All right, guys. We got Stu Holt at the dais. Raise your hands for questions. We'll start in the front with Mike Barber.
Coach, as you kind of get familiar with your personnel, whether it be in the spring or the off-season workouts, how do you identify who you think are good team leaders? And then next level from that, once you've identified some guys, how do you coach them to kind of lead the way you want them to lead?
Well, I think the first thing you're looking for are guys that communicate well, that verbalize that they want to lead, whether just how they just go about their business and communicate with their teammates. And then you're looking to see if they back that up with their play and see how well they pay attention to detail and try to do it the way you're asking them to do it. And then so once those leaders are identified, then you're looking to how many guys can you match that physical skill set like that guy and try to build it out from there.
Coach, this team loses kind of two of those three starting specialists at kicker and long snapper from last year's team. What have you seen at those two spots, and who's kind of emerging in those places?
We got a great place kicking battle going on right now. Will Ross is kicking with the ones, and John Love is kicking with the twos, and both those guys are striking the ball very well. Kind of, took up from spring and on into this camp. Justin Pollock's having a great camp as a long snapper, as well as Enzo Anthony. So both of those guys are doing well. So we've got some good competition going for sure.
And then Peter Moore coming into his second season, was a freshman All-American by some. What have you seen in his game and kind of his development this offseason?
Pete has really had a good camp, much improved from the spring. In the spring, with the new system, new terminology, I think it took him a little bit to kind of get used to that. Same with Nick. Nick Vilsistis is having a really competitive camp. And that position's been competitive. Nick's come out here and hit the ball very well. But Pete is ahead right now and is doing well.
On the right side, Mike.
Stu, with the running back battle, kind of during the summer, Brent Pry said, and you did, Malachi Thomas was kind of leading the way, but Brent said Jalen Holston has really kind of stepped up through the summer and kind of continued that. How's that battle for kind of the leader of the pack in that room going?
It's kind of 1A, 1B. I love the leadership value of both those guys. Different styles of leadership. I think Jalen, being an older guy, leans more towards being vocal and backs it up with his play. Malachi, being a younger guy, is a guy that doesn't say as much but backs it up with his play. So I think that both of those players are very well-rounded. The guys that can play, they can play on any down, any situation, do what you ask them to do. So very pleased with both those guys.
When you do have a competition at place kicker, how do you simulate game pressure during camp? I mean, are there rewards, punishments for makes and misses? How's that work?
Well, Coach Pry does a nice job of making it the focus of the team. And when you want to create that type of environment, we'll finish with some competitive kicks at the end where we'll have the team can distract them and make it tough on them and really kind of create a loud environment, distracting environment. And then we'll also tag some push-ups with it for the team. I don't know if they quite figured out that maybe if they didn't distract them as much, maybe they do less push-ups. But we'll keep that going, as long as we can. But it's a competitive deal, and they have fun with it. It's nice to see that those guys go out and compete, deliver, and then being congratulated by their teammates. I think that's a positive experience.
Back of the room, Travis Wells.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
The reputation for solid special teams around here has obviously been well documented. I'm just curious, how much have you followed that at maybe some of your previous stops, and just speak to embracing that as a way to really affect the game and change momentum?
Well, I came here when I first started my career, I would come here in clinic, way back when my father was coaching high school football, and I'd tag along with him and come up here to Coach Beamer's clinics. And then I paid attention to kind of use a lot of that stuff that I learned back then in my stops along the way. I've always been involved in special teams, love that part of the game. Your eyes always looking at Virginia Tech nationally, because we have been so good on teams over the years. So, certainly that was a big draw for me to have this opportunity, being a special teams guy, and have the opportunity to come here and work at Virginia Tech. I mean, I don't think it gets any better.
On the left, David Cunningham.
Stu, how would you describe Keyshawn King, and what have your observations been of him throughout fall camp so far?
I would describe him as extremely explosive. He can start and stop and get started again probably better than anyone we have on our roster. I mean, he has a very special skill set in terms of being able to change direction, really run by you, make you miss. Very, very special skill set.
Kind of going off that, we've heard Coach Pry talk about Keyshawn and Chance Black moving around a little bit, trying to get a sense of how they could fit in. Do you feel like you have a good sense of where they are in this offense and how you can best use them at this stage of camp?
Absolutely. Both guys very explosive, can run between the tackles, can advance the ball internally, but excellent in space and have an opportunity. This offense allows you to get those guys in space, one-on-one matchups that favor us. So I definitely see their roles kind of taking shape.
I'm sure we've asked you about a running back rotation in the past and how many you can get carries in the game. Now that you've had a couple months on the job here, do you have a better idea of that, and kind of where are you in that regard?
Well, I think that we see it I know that we see it as the guy that's getting it done is the guy that's going to get the opportunity. They got to take care of the football. That's number one. We got to retain possession. We're not going to block them all. The guy that can make guys miss, the guy that can have yards after contact is going to go in his favor. He has to be able to stay on the field and protect when we're going to throw the ball down the field and keep the quarterback upright. So, the guy that is the most consistent in those areas is going to be the guy that's going to be out there the majority of the time. And, there'll be roles and there'll be opportunities for several guys based on their skill set. But if you're looking for the guy that's going to get the majority of the work, or maybe the top two guys that get the majority of the work, they're going to fall in those categories for sure.
What have you seen in kind of your return, both kick return and punt returners this offseason, and who do you think are the guys stepping up in those places?
I like Keyshawn and Chance in the kick return game. I think they have a real chance, no pun intended. I say it all the time. But I like both those guys back there. Holston's worked back there some as more of an off returner. We were able to add Colbeck to the roster. Really excited about what he'll be able to do. Possibly in that role. In the punt returner game, DJ Harvey's had a really nice camp. Lofton has done extremely well. So we've had several guys back there, fielding punts, and we've got a list of probably 5 or 6 guys. We want to make sure they get plenty of opportunity. If I had to pick the top 2 in the punt return right now, it would be DJ and Loft.
And then what are you looking for at a kick return spot and then as your punt returner? Because I know those can be 2 very different skill sets.
I think that as a punt returner, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of poise. You've got to establish the mindset of that you're in charge. That's probably, I don't know how many other plays in football where, one guy on that play is in charge of the other 21 guys, everything that happens on the field. So you got to find a guy that has some poise, can make a good decision, can execute that decision, and doesn't get rattled, and can make the play when you need it. The kickoff return guy, the kickoffs are easier to handle. There's more cushion. There's more space between you and the defense. I think there's less pressure there for sure. But certainly you want a guy that has good vision, is going to hit it at full speed, going to understand the pattern of the return. And I love a guy back there that has the ability to break tackles because, it's just like offense. We're not going to block them all. So guys got to be able to make some plays.
Last couple for you, Coach. We'll go David Teal.
How do you teach the art of blocking kicks, punts, field goals, and has anyone this camp shown a knack for it?
Yeah, there's a lot of coaching points that really, for me, really started, as I talked about earlier, coming to these clinics when I was starting just getting into coaching. A lot of it came from Coach Beamer, and I've still got the notes that I took way back then. And, there's some really fine coaching points, and there's some technical things that you certainly work on, but you're looking for the guy that has a knack for it. And what you're looking for is the guy that has great takeoff. He moves when that ball moves. He's fluid. He can bend his body. He can avoid a block, avoid a protection block, right? And then accelerate through that block spot, and then has the courage to take it off his foot. There's a lot of guys, and you've seen it. We've watched plenty of games where guys are there, and you'll see them turn their head at the last second, or they're right there and they miss it, because there is an art to it, for sure. There is an art. I think Dorian Strong is pretty special in that area. He's shown the ability to do that in practice. We got several guys. We have, I'm trying to think, the guy I think is pretty, can bend his body and really explosive is Jalen Stroman. He's had some really nice work. Keyshawn's done some nice things. Chance has. DJ Harvey has, but it's going to be hard for him to block it and return it at the same time. That's going to be tough. But he's had some good reps.
Last one, Mike.
Coach, you mentioned vision in terms of kick return. I'm curious, how similar is the vision skills for a running back and a kick returner? Do those mesh up, or are they very different?
Yeah, I've always liked running backs back there for that reason. Particularly because a lot of the patterns in the kick return game are similar to what you run on offense. There's several kick returns start with a double team, which the power play starts with a double team, and it's a lot of down, kick out, which is, very similar to what you run on offense. And then the ability to break tackles, I think, certainly, most of the time the running back room, those guys are more familiar with that skill. And so, I like the running backs back there. But that being said, we're not going to keep if we think the best one is a DN, we're going to put him back there, But I haven't seen that yet. Haven't seen it yet.
All right. Thank you, Coach Holt.
All right. Thank you.